comprehensive overview of both East Asian economic cooperation and the East Asian FTA in particular, and the current situation of Chinese economy. I think there are many questions and comments on these two very important subjects. So I will open this to the floor. Yes, Dr. Kim, continue, please.
Thank you very much for your really illuminating comments. I have two questions, one on the FTA, the East Asian FTA, and the other one on China. First, the FTA, of course we talk about all kinds of FTAs, but the basic premise, of course, is it's supposed to be all-inclusive economic union under the GATT Chapter 4, which is substantial all trades. Considering all the variabilities of the 10+3 or 10+6 or whatever we are thinking about in East Asia, how much of that concept can be really lived up to in terms of really coming to substantially all trades being subject to that trade barrier removals? That's the first question. Second question is about the Chinese economy. For all the right reasons, China is concerned about overheating, and the government is doing all the efforts of somewhat slowing it down. In that process, it is necessary, of course, obviously, desirable to be more selective and discourage the long-term unviable industries springing up rather than long-term healthy industries growth. One of the things that happen in the Chinese situation right now is, depending on who does the valuations, but various study groups there have been indicating the renminbi at this point is about at least 20% on the value, which will breed the ground for businesses which has no business of engaging in the export business will be coming in to fall. How soon do you think the Chinese will consider whatever the steps you take to eliminate so-called undervaluations of renminbi? Thank you.
Okay. Well, there's two issues we may take even more than 2 hours, but why don't you, just break it and then
Okay, I think the idea for this regional FTA, as we understand, that without the FTA, the East Asia, trade, investment, conducting seems quite well. But why we need the first FTA? We always ask this question. I think for at least the three major concerns. One is we try to overcome the existing barriers which are still there. The second one, that is to create actually an institution which can to harmonize or at least integrate all these different kind of systems which make it the policy system smooth and which are helpful for the future macroeconomic development also. The third one, I think the East Asia FTA should be focused more on the efficiency rather than the quantity, which means it creates more trading in the region because it reduces the cost of the business. I don't think even after we have FTA, the trade will increase very big, like Europe. And the internal trade will account for 65% or 7% at some time. Now already we have 50%. But this inter-regional trade, the content is different from Europe. We have to, through this FTA, make the economy more integrated, would create a wider demand in the region to reduce the dependency on the outside market. So I think this FTA should be multiple purpose. But if we want to realize this, we have to overcome the last barriers of the business in the region, which every country has some problem. That is the real problem, the difficulty for the regional FTA, because each country has its own problem to overcome. And also economic level are so different in the region, so we have to consider. So that's why the FTA is not a pure FTA, conventional FTA. We need more comprehensive arrangements along with this liberalization process. Concerning Chinese economy, I think the renminbi, you have seen already some flexibility and come and down. There was some argument that renminbi probably 20% or 25% lower than its real value. But according to because the Chinese economy is highly structurally different inside. So depending on how to calculate, if calculated the real Chinese exports, so according to our study, the current value of renminbi is somewhat, to its current capacity. So it's not actually quite low than its real value, because it's. But if you calculate, for instance, FDI exporters, then maybe different. And but the problem is for FDI is really they need a stable renminbi for their future investment, and also when you increase its value and they cut their profit margin, so that's the problem, because the dual economy, dual capacities in this export sector. So I think it's more complex than it's taken as one. That is why even now making it flexible, you see the currency still fluctuated according to some market movement. So I don't think you may, if you create some atmosphere, the renminbi may increase to 10% or 15% for very short time, but it can come down very sharply and in another time. So that's creates a danger for Chinese economy. So I don't think that is, as a general, the Chinese currency is too downvalued. So it depends on the structure. So that's why, that is to say, the Chinese government will not, let its forces forcibly increase its value in the 20% or so now. But maybe in the some years, or 10 years or so, but 5 years, I don't know how long. But it's try to see it's a very gradual process. So also one factor that you have to, along with this process of capital liberalization process, the renminbi is accountable process. So it's not just one process. Yes.
I have many questions that I want to ask you, but I will raise just a few related with FTA this time. And if there is another opportunity later, I will raise other questions. As to the regional countries' efforts to promote East Asian integration, a confusion has been created with the launching of the East Asia Summit, attended by 10+6 countries. Now, one outcome I see of that is this difference between China and Korea on the one hand and Japan on the other hand about the membership in the proposed regional FTA. As you explained to us, should they be the 10+3 countries only, or should they be the 10+6 countries? And you told us that Japanese are arguing that we should go for the 10+6 countries, which actually make up the East Asia Summit. Now, what was the main line of arguments? What was the difference between these two groups in terms of rationalization, the justification for the different proposals? Now, a second question. You said that this East Asia FTA that you are advocating should be completed by no later than 2020, and you said that that is consistent with the proposals pursued by APEC. By proposals, we're talking about free trade and investments by APEC economies. But I see a major conflict between the two ideas. 2002, the East Asia FTA will mean an exclusive free trading agreement among East Asian countries only, with barriers against third countries, including those other countries in the APEC region. Whereas APEC proposals aim to remove all trade barriers. So I see a major confrontation between the two ideas. And how would you reconcile that? Now, I also understand that your government has expressed interest in the Northeast Asia FTA, consisting of China, Korea, and Japan. And I wonder if, given the time schedule that you have outlined for East Asia FTA, whether there still would be any viable room for even talking about Northeast Asia FTA. And finally, what is your assessment about this Korea-US FTA, which has been negotiated? Thank you. That's actually all one question.
I think
some related.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, something related.
Sure, okay.
Okay. I think so. I fully agree there's some kind of a growing dynamism, and then de facto intra-regional trade and investment development in East Asia imposed a very great economic stake in economic integration in East Asia. But the problem is how to institutionalize economic integration. I mean, there are many study groups and many suggested visions, but I think most of them are a kind of NATO, no actions, talks only. So I think that's a more realistic scenario is that I think that you mentioned that 10+1, 10+6, but I would say that 3, 10+1, and 3 bilateral FTAs, and then maybe we get some kind of a one East Asian economic integration. Let me correct it. In other words, Korea and China already finished FTA with ASEAN, and that's 2 10+1 has already been finished, and Japan is undergoing some negotiation FTA with ASEAN, so I hope that sooner or later that will be finished. In other words, 3 10+1 will be finished. And when Korea and Japan has already done 6 rounds of FTA negotiation. Now it's a standstill paper. And there's some discussion about Korea and China FTAs. And then there's some also discussion about China and Japan FTAs. That was 3 10+1 and 3 bilateral FTAs. 10 maybe more realistic scenarios might be economic integration in stage. And the reason why I argue this way is that the 10+3, which is Asia, does not have leading role in the integration of the East Asia. So in that sense, I suggest that 3+1 and 3 direct FTAs is more realistic approach to institutionalize East Asian integration. So what is your comment on that? And then one more question is related to Dr. Yang's mentioned. How about the APEC-wide FTAs? What is the relationship between the East Asia integration or East Asia FTA and then APEC-wide FTA agreement?
Okay, thank you. Concerning, I think, the difference of 10+6 and 10+3, the nature, I think, related factor in the future still the ASEAN, I think, because this whole process now highly rely on ASEAN's acceptance and willingness. During the economic ministers meeting, when the ASEAN had the 10+1 with Japan, and many ministers, including Singapore minister, did not reject this 10+6. Japan allocated some funds to start this 10+6 study. ASEAN did not reject. But in the 10+3 meeting, and the minister from Singapore again, they said, why not we consider more options? So it seems, I think, still the willingness of ASEAN, because as we know last year, leaders generally agree that different functions of 10+6 and 10+3. The 10+3 as a major course will continue to be. 10+6 as a framework, a forum to support 10+3. But now, yesterday, the day before, I had a seminar in Beijing, and the fellow from Thailand proposed. Probably he said the first 10 years with a 10+3 as a major course, and the next 10 years we will have a 10+4 plus India. So see, I think the ASEAN very highly rely on ASEAN, because from the beginning I said this East Asia process initiated, now led by ASEAN. So if ASEAN change, the others will follow. But I personally still think, because 10+3 has experienced 10 years, we have established political structure, we have created comprehensive, foundations, supporting foundations for the process. So if we give up, move to 10+6, especially include India process, I don't think India is ready yet to be in this big regional process. So so that's why in our experts report, we open the window for the future. We start from 10+6 as in 3, and then it may be open to other East Asia members in the future. But if we start from the beginning with 10+6, I don't know, but it may be no success at all. Concerning the relation between East Asia and APEC, I think during the vision group, also, the 10+3 expert group, our thinking is that APEC, Asia Pacific regional free trade investment, is an idea, is a goal, but without any concrete arrangement. So we still don't know how to realize it. We still don't know whether we can realize by 2020. If we see now design 2 timetables, 2010, 2020, So who can tell what the developing members can do by 2010? Because very close. Now we had a percent, agenda. Now this year we again will find a way how to implement the percent agenda. But the whole agenda you see is not moved to a free trade investment area. It's still, create more, movements in the region. And it's not focused on the free trade and investment yet. So our idea is probably if East Asia can really realize this FTA, then can invite Northeast Asia or at that time America side to put together to negotiate Asia Pacific agreement. That's possible, only make it possible because we realize without negotiation you can't realize a real free trade investment area at all. That's probably so. What kind of a model for Asia Pacific? We don't know yet. Concerning Northeast Asia FTA, I think probably with this new political monument and new China-Japan and hopefully Korea, China, Japan, Korea relationship, and their leaders can consider that. It's really highly reliant on the political will and relations. And I still hope that East Asia, Northeast Asia can initiate this process. But as I mentioned, our joint expert group thought we should not wait until everything ready and then we start East Asia. Otherwise, we have no time at all. Otherwise, we probably can realize East Asia until 2050 or 20, even more. So we have parallel different kind of drivers and then push for the one direction. That's probably our current situation. But I don't know whether, I will write a letter to push the leaders to accept our idea, but I don't know. As I mentioned, as you asked that, 310+1 creates something better for the region, but creates new barriers because 310+1 are quite different. So you have to find a way to put all these 310+1s together, and we can absorb all the good things into the East Asia one, and then to overcome some problems. For instance, we have to create the East Asia regional rule of origin system, and we have to create a trade dispute settlement mechanism in the East Asia region. So this what we highly need. So we retain the idea in the future. Probably we continue, to let this 310+1 work, but you have to follow this 10+3 as a general framework, which means 10+1 should not be a barrier to 10+3. So that is general idea, and we discussed. That's very ideal, but it's highly necessary. Otherwise, business will find more difficult to work in that we call this web of production and service in the region, because they have to fill different forms and to understand more different rules and standards and regulations.
I have a question sheet submitted here which deals with the subject, the topic, which is on everyone's mind as I indicated. But before that, maybe I just go back to this to clarify on this goal and the East Asian FTA. I think Dr. Yang is right to point out the fact that free trade and FTA is quite different thing. And I think what you're saying is East Asian FTA is a goal toward free trade. So the goal is less ambitious. And freer trade and free trade are two different things. And the overall declaration is very ambitious, and in your view is very different to obtain. So you want go for the free trade FTA first, and which is much less ambitious. And the other one is regarding this, the 10+1 FTAs and other bilateral FTAs and so forth. Here, what you're saying is that East Asian FTA is much better, which is really ideal, because if you let this all the bilateral FTAs completely and all three the 10+1 FTAs completely without any cooperation, then it will create so-called spotting problem. So ideally, it is better to have region-wide FTA initiative. But we all know that. But the thing is political leadership issue and political situation. So I think the thing we have to address is, what would you recommend to the politicians and deal with all these issues and overcome all the barriers first? Otherwise, I don't think, just hope on Northeast Asian activities would be just already. I don't think anything can be achieved. So I think this is
The
really...
minister from Japan who proposed this 10+6 now resigned. So there is a new minister, I don't know, who's continuing to that's a proposal.
Yeah. Even 10+3 versus 10+6 also, I think it reflects the politics in this region. I think this is geopolitically motivated. The rivalry, to be candid about it, I think there's a rivalry between China and Japan, and that's why this 10+6 versus 10+6 issue comes. And so I think the real issue is how Chinese leadership will deal with this political issue, and otherwise I don't think this East Asian the FTA can be really real. But anyway, that's the comment I'd like to make, and if you want to react to this, and please do so. But before you react to this, this question was posed by one of the reporters, President. Of course, it's North Korean alleged nuclear test, and he would like to know, she would like to know actually, there are some questions about this alleged test, whether it's really true nuclear test or not, and what is your impression in Beijing, whether they really think it's genuine or not, because the Russians somehow came out and say they took it for granted, and the Americans are still really doing this. But she would like to know the Beijing's impression on this. Another the point is the sanction to the North. What is the Chinese in you're representing Chinese government here. So what's your view on the Chinese position on this? And then what is your view on the Korea's so-called sunshine policy as a whole? Do you think it's a good thing and it was useful? And what is your view on this? So this, I'm very sure that Korean audience will be very interested.
Until now, I feel very comfortable, but now it's kind of tough questions. The first one is, we all need intelligence, so I don't know, but from Chinese perspective, it's real or half real or real is not the major matter. The real matter is there was a test and then open for the possibility for the another one or two or more tests. So that's real, I think, significance of the event. And also make it open and real. That is, North Korean government want to keep its nuclear weapon. So that is, I think, the real significance. So let it the intelligence to do it, whether it's not real or not real. So that's why Chinese government takes it very serious, made the strongest statement among all the parties, because we think it's very serious. It creates a lot of immediate term and longer term effects for the regional relations, for the situation in Korean Peninsula and in the region as a whole. About the sanctions, I think personally, I think if you see the talk by Chinese representative in UN, he already made it very clear China would support such some action. So that means probably the UN sanction. But I don't think we'll go too far. For instance, the UN Article 7 to create a condition which open for any actions or options in the future legally. So that Chinese government would be very cautious about that. And Chinese government, I think, also would take more actions to show to North Korea, you have to follow the lines. You should not create a red line. And if you create, you will think about. So I think we'll see some following actions in the future. But on the other hand, the government is still very cautious about these measures to be taken, because we all understand sanctions alone do not work to force North Korea to give up its nuclear, and even that's some kind of expected regime change. But maybe to a different direction. So we have to think some parallel measures together rather than just one. Because if you make it too simple, you have two options. One is, okay, we continue with sanctions, and then if it doesn't work, we do more. Another one, you adopt this military. But we understand if you take the military action and maybe some unexpected result. And if you have a military action and North Korea retaliates, the first target is here. And then if that happens, we don't know what happened next. So we have to carefully calculate the whole result and effect, so that I think personally as a Chinese scholar, I think still we should open the window for the peaceful resolution. And hard as we can, and force North Korea to return to the negotiation table and create ideally in the future a system which put North Korea into a framework which even you have, and then you can't use it, you can't improve it. And then, next step, to forces to give up. So that's, I think, needs some process. But if we follow this approach, we highly need U.S. government's policy. Still back to the old problem, issue. That is, we need U.S. government policy. If U.S. government policy will not change anything, we have to wait and see what we can do and what will happen. So I think Chinese government would take some action, but still very cautious, not to, especially let it happen what was out of control. About the sunshine policy, that should comment by you yourself. Because personally, I generally support this idea because at least in the past several years, we all understand the change in North Korea is a very difficult thing. The sunshine policy creates a situation which we at least get a peaceful time for many years. And also, we created canals which, for the opportunities for people to know each other, create exchanges, and also the future, direction for our policies. That is, get North Korea into the regional international community, and then exchange itself. So I think the sunshine policy generally, but I fully understand that South Korean friends need some return as quickly as possible, as quickly as possible. But if you see the China-North Korean relationship, and it's a similar thing. And people are not satisfied. We give so many aid, and we have not to get the return, and we almost become enemy again. So I think, but we have to accept the fact that we have to find approach which engage North Korea rather than cut all these roads. That is, I think, but we have to rethink more possible or productive ways. But I think this connection, exchange, I hope will continue rather than cut off all these possibilities.
I think for the sake of clarification, I don't think anyone is against the engagement policy or rapprochement between North and South, but the debating point is how the policy is implemented. I think that is the issue, and I don't think who would be against the policy engagement. There's no one opposed to this, but the question is, the issue is the way it's implemented. Whether you want a quick report or even not what you want, but some kind of conditionality and so forth. So I think the issue is how it is implemented. That is the question. So when you just talk about the general objective of engaging this, I don't think anyone would object to it. So I think we have to be clear about all this. And how it should be done is the issue, and which maybe people may have different opinions. And before we close, Dr. Yang has a question, and we invite this Dr. Yang. And then before that, I just want to for you your own clarification. In the United States, particularly, there are so-called some minority, but in my view, there are so-called China pessimists. And one of the main things they talk about is Chinese economic, the credibility of Chinese statistics. They don't even believe the growth rate. government. So, for the sake of clarification, how credible, and in your view, really, I think this is a very important issue. And, what is your view on this kind of allegation? And before you answer that,
Thank you for the second opportunity. You didn't answer my last question. Was Beijing surprised to see the launching of the negotiation of Korea-US FTA when you heard that? Yes, and what do you congratulate us for that, or do you frown at that? And the Korea-China FTA is also part of Korean government's FTA roadmap. My question: is there any serious interest on the part of Beijing in launching this Korea-China FTA in the foreseeable future? And then here is one optional question for you. You may want to answer or not. You may want to explain the motive behind so-called China's East-North or Dongbei project. There is some suspicion arising among Koreans that may indicate that China is harboring some territorial ambitions. So you may refuse to answer the question.
Do you have any question? All right. Yeah. Okay.
Dr. Yang, I already answered your question about this Northeast Asia project when you were in Beijing. Because as I know that from Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, this project is a research project. Because now in general we all call our research program as a research project. So this the name itself is not a special thing. The second, as I know, that the original idea is that there were groups in South Korea for this, historical research or political force. So leaders considered it may be an important thing for Chinese scholars to study it, to make it clear what it be. And of course, if you start this scholars' research, and then they have their own view, and then, so I don't think, though it's leaders' concern, but I don't think there are some political, intentions behind that. It's no Chinese to think that, and then it's relating to current territory or current development. So it's also very few people know about this research project or even history and all, because people are not concerned about it. So to some extent, still the majority Chinese do not understand why Korean people are so concerned about it. Become a highly political thing. That need probably more exchanges between the two peoples. I remember when you were Beijing, you led the group of local, politicians. After my explanation, seems no question. So because that's real story, what I knew from the beginning. So, but the scholars insist their view. They publish the research reports and articles, and that's also part of Chinese history. You can keep your own view, but because China is combined of many states in the past, so that's already a long history. That's it. So the scholars in Korea and China can keep their different views, and that's okay. So I don't think it's current political. I don't think also it's there is a Chinese political future designing or potential sector. Concerning Korean-US FTA, I think it's your option, and you think it's important because there will be no negative impact on China at all. It may be good for the future China-Korea FTA if you can conclude, because because maybe your market is more open and easier, and so handle all your own problems internally and create a better environment. I don't think there is any difference views in China which you think, okay, Korea turn to US rather than in China. I don't think so. So concerning Korean-China FTA, I think Chinese government is serious and still wish to have it because partly for real interest, partly for since China and Japan FTA seems more difficult than China-Korea FTA, so we are serious to conduct it. But we have to understand when we start this process, there will be mounting sensitive problems we have to handle about.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Zhang, and for sharing your very candid view with us. And in fact, Professor Zhang is heading to Jeju Island, where another international conference is being held. And so we have to release him at this point. And I hope we have an opportunity for you to come back to this forum. And again, at that time, I hope we have no burning issues like North Korea.
It's okay. We have to coordinate. Already China, Korea has coordinated a lot. We will need to continue.
I think so. It is a really regional issue. It's not only Korean issue, but the region is a Chinese issue, and it's actually the whole global issue. So we need a very close cooperation. Thank you very much.